3 o'clock on all of OTB's social channels, and then of course again at 8 o'clock every Friday evening on Off the Ball on News Talk. If you want to get in touch during the day, you can leave us comment on the YouTube stream. You can tweet at Off the Ball, or of course during the evening you can text us on 53106. We'll look back on the Dublin Racing Festival and all the big lessons that we've learned, and what it suggests for the rest of the season, and the general rude health of Ireland versus England, which is kind of one of the preoccupations generally of this show. But I want to get straight into our guest this week, and I'm delighted to say Jockey Mark McDonagh is with us. Mark, good afternoon to you. How are you?
I'm good now. Yourself?
Yeah, we're pretty good. You had a good weekend last weekend.
Yeah, it was a great weekend now.
What was it actually like in the build up to the whole? Because it's you've come through at a time really when fans were few and far between. When they were allowed in, it was at a smaller number. So last weekend, probably the first weekend that you've experienced that full, proper, massive surge of crowds.
Yeah, for any claimer really to have a ride at the Dublin Racing Festival is a great thrill. I say then to see Declarations on Friday morning to be on such a nice horse was even better again.
So when did you realise? So Birchdale is the horse you were on, and it won, and we'll talk about the race in a moment itself. But when did you get the nod that you were being considered for the ride? Because it's the first time I think you've ridden Birchdale, is it?
Yeah, it was. I suppose I saw Declarations came out at about 10:30, and I saw I was down on him, and I say that was the first time I heard anything about it, and that was that.
Right, okay. I didn't realise it worked like that. Not even like a heads up here, listen, I'm putting you forward for this, you might get it. Just check the declarations there.
No, I have a very good agent in Gary Cribben, and I have full faith in him, and to be fair, leave it all up to Gary, and he does the job well.
This sounds a little bit like the Oscar nominations.
Well, I wouldn't be too familiar with the Oscar nominations.
It's a surprise until the last minute too, and there's a lot of good surprises on it. So when that happens, right, because it's like, the famous McManus colours, it's the Dublin Racing Festival, is there like a little surge of adrenaline that you get immediately, even just when you see the declarations?
Yeah, definitely. I remember texting a few of my friends and asking them, did they see it yet or anything. It was actually mad. You dream of riding for him, you wouldn't think that you get to ride for him in a big weekend like that from the get-go. So no, it was beyond unreal from Friday morning on, really.
Did it have anything to do with the fact that he was out of the handicap, Mark?
Yeah, I suppose for £4 out of a handicap, I suppose it made sense then to claim 7 off of him. Look, it didn't seem to matter to him. I'd say, look, it was grand.
You had 43 rides over fences before that. How did the winner not come? You had a lot of placed runners.
A lot of placed runners. I never really got to ride any type of horse. Got to ride a few really nice horses over fences, but none that were of that kind of standard. It's just hitting the crossbar a lot. It took me 47 rides in total to ride my first winner, which was over hurdles. So I suppose if you pull back to that stat, it was just about time that it came through.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but obviously the quality of horse in Birchdale ends up going off favourite. Was that the first time you'd had the opportunity to ride a horse that good? Over fences, I mean, specifically, obviously.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, it's true. It was a grade A handicap, so everything that was in it had his right to be in it. Them type of races don't come around every day. So, it was definitely the highest profile race I ever rode in, never mind to win it.
Okay, take us back to the bit where you find out you're on the horse. Then, did you know anything about him? Did you go off and immediately watch back all the previous races? What's your preparation like, so that when you get to the parade ring beforehand, or do you speak to Enda Bulger immediately and say, right, what's the crack with this lad? What do we need to do? What are we thinking?
No, I suppose I look back at all his runs anyway. I've looked back at him between Friday night, Saturday night. Then talked to Enda on Sunday then when I met him at the races, and like that day, between Enda and Mr. Berry, they just kept things very simple, and there was no airs and graces about it. It was just about getting on with it.
What did Enda actually say to you in the parade ring?
He just said sit fifth or sixth and enjoy yourself. So
Because you gave it a very, very, like, for somebody who hadn't ridden a winner over fences, you look like you'd been riding over fences for some time. I thought your confidence in the horse definitely helped.
Yeah, look, I suppose I know Leopardstown, there's still plenty long running after the last. And, you see in all the big races, plenty of things can change the back of the last in Leopardstown. So, I knew there was going to take a bit of getting, and I'd say even after jumping the last, all I wanted was the winning post.
And you know how it's difficult for commentators when one owner has a lot of runners in the race, but for Enda Bulger to actually mistake the horse that he himself had in the race and think that he trained the horse who finished third was an interesting add-on to the story.
I didn't hear that.
He never mentioned it to me now, but like that, he came in, tied the red cap all right. Say, look, at least it was in the blue cap.
He would have been going straight over to Simon Torrance saying you took it up too early. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I could imagine that now, but I'm glad I was in the blue cap anyway.
Talk us through the build up to the race then as well, because it is a big deal. What is it like at a festival like that where there is full crowds and everybody's so excited to be back out and having some kind of new sense of freedom again? It's so it's kind of an emotionally charged weekend for everybody anyway.
Yeah, of course it is. Definitely the stands were full. Probably a big help that Johnny tipped them up and that everyone wanted the horse to run well. So I say it was a good build up the minute of walking into Leopardstown that day. The atmosphere was there everywhere. The whole place was packed. People wanted to see horses in the parade ring as well as watching them race.
The difference in that compared to, last year, 12,500 that had a big buzz with honeysuckle, and I guess that's why you're in the sport, Mark.
Yeah, of course. You dream of days like last Sunday, and that's when you're growing up there. They're the days you always think that you'd love to be riding there, you'd love to be winning there. So for it all to come along, it's just great.
And did it make it different in terms of your preparation? Did you need to consider how you would feel? Was there visualisation involved, or were you like, absolutely, I'm just going to see what happens, take it as it comes?
No, I kind of see what happens. When I get to the races every day, I always go out, give the track a jog, come in then and just get changed. I kind of have my own routine, and they say it was just from walking in, it was just doing the normal routine and just treating it like a normal day at the races. Now, it helped that there was an atmosphere there, and I was a little bit more excited to be riding on a day like that day, but just keeping the head to was also very important.
Yeah, no doubt. We might talk to you about how you go about that in a couple of minutes' time. But we have a new slot. It's called My Racing Moment, and it's brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Share every racing moment. Visit hri.ie or follow Horse Racing Ireland on social media. It's obvious that your win at Leopardstown is like a career high. But are there other moments in your career previous to this? Like, I'm thinking about your dad had a horse that you won on. Like, are they moments along the way as well that you're thinking, I've made all the right decisions to get to this point. I'm in the right game. I'm making progress. I feel like I'm on the right path.
Yeah, exactly. I won a grade 3 down in Cork before Christmas for Sean O'Brien, and say that was a great day. Didn't get to claim in the race, and the lads still used me. It wasn't a horse that Dad or any of the family were involved in, so to be given that fate that day, and be able to win on the mare was great. Other days then, like a horse of our own won the Grade B in Killarney. I say that was probably a really good moment for the whole family, because we had the horse, and it was probably Dad's biggest winner of his time owning horses too. So no, there's been plenty of good moments already, and every moment like that, it really shows you why you're in the game.
Can we dig into the one in Cork just a moment? Because obviously the family one, I'm interested in your perspective on that as well. But to talk about that, because like as a claimer, there's definitely, and we've spoken to people in the past who are talk about that process of riding out their claim. There's just a nagging doubt until you make it and you ride out your claim fully, and you're just always being booked for races that people are just interested in you for the claim. And when you actually start winning without it, I suspect that's the bit where your self-confidence comes to the point where you're like, yeah, this is all going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Especially to still have a £7 claim and to be put into the hat for a race like that. It is great.
And why do you think it happened, Mark? What do you think that people are seeing in you that they're backing you, and what confidence does that give you?
Well, look, it gives me plenty of confidence, but at the same time, I have to kind of, keep level about it all. Just keep working hard. Don't change anything once it's going all right. And you could run away with yourself a bit, but not in this game. You have to keep a level head about it. And although it's great that people are giving me opportunities and everything, but it's about trying to keep them opportunities.
That's the thing as well, because like a jockey, he or she is still going to be kind of riding out the next morning, possibly riding in the next race. So you don't really have time to kind of like overdo it in terms of celebrations or whatever.
No, exactly. Like as I say, especially as a claimer there, come Sunday evening, it's the case that you're riding out again on Monday. The day you don't think you have to ride out on Monday is probably the day that you definitely should be doing it.
Yeah.
Tell us about your racing background as well, actually.
Well, I was going to say, but just before you get to that, jockeys notoriously, obviously, never tear the arse out of a Johnny.
No, not at all. I think Paul Carberry had a good an interview with the Racing Post lately where he said, that back in the day they went to the pub, now they go to the gym, and I think there probably has been a big sea change. You're too young to know, I suppose, but Mark, I guess it's a different kind of culture now.
Yeah, well, I suppose like that from hearing stories of back in the day, it's definitely changed the way it is now. Jockeys are seen more as professional athletes. Say, look, I suppose no harm, with how high the sport is in the world. You have to be a professional athlete going into the game.
You're in UL, so we'll get into the racing background now in a sec, but you're in UL and they obviously have a bunch of elite athletes coming through. They've got connections in the past with Munster that, they would train there from time to time before the high performance thing was built up, but I presume there's still fairly regular connections there. I guess the hurlers are in quite a bit, so you're seeing what the best athletes in Ireland are at, and are you learning a bit? Are you inspired by that? Are you rubbing shoulders with them at all?
Yeah, I suppose you see a lot of the Munster squad coming in and out when you be in the gym inside there. I'm very lucky in UL that I'm a sports scholar inside there now. There's plenty of resources for me. Between gym and dietitians and everything inside there, it is great. And you get to see kind of how all the other sports are working, especially the swimming in UL is phenomenal. There's a lot of good students inside there that are getting up very early in the mornings and putting in a lot of work. So yeah, you get to see a wide range of athletes inside UL, and they definitely make you keep on top of doing your own gym work.
Well, because I was going to say, you're not really a part of a team as a jockey, even though you're part of loads of different teams. You ride out for certain trainers. You've got a family background as well. There's like people who would trust you and would work with you, but you're a sole trader. So having that kind of environment, I suspect, is actually quite enjoyable.
Yeah, it is, of course. It's kind of look like doing anything, going for a simple run. When you're doing it by yourself, it can feel twice as long as doing it with somebody else or being in that type of environment. So, no, 100%, you work harder in a group, and they say to be able to have the likes of UL there in the sports campus, which is a great asset.
As a professional as well, it's very, very unusual for a professional jockey to go to college. So what was your thought process there?
Yeah, well, the thought process was I, I was never kind of very busy at horses when I started in college. Might have been lucky to get 30 rides a year. To say, came in straight in after leaving cert. Mum was fairly adamant that I go to college and just get a degree, so I'd always have it. Probably not wrong.
It sounded like you had to have your arm twisted there a little bit.
Yeah. So no, and then as it worked out, it was fine. When COVID came, a lot of it came online, and it was, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was easier to keep on top of the college and still be able to ride out and race ride.
And what course are you doing?
I study in business in UL, so I'm after majoring in accountancy and finance.
Right. And here's the thing, like that is a life skill that you will use forever, particularly as somebody who is a sole trader and or whatever other business you get involved in, being able to mind your own money and be able to, talk to accountants about what's happening. If you're successful in the racing game, is hugely important.
Yeah, look, it is. I suppose the reason why I picked business was that it's so broad, and I suppose business is in everything in life, whether you're in horses or, in any, even if you're in a shoe shop or something, you still need to know your bit about business and accounts. So, I always thought, at least by doing this, I'd be using it every day as opposed to, not having a use for it at all.
Yeah, of course. You wanted to ask about the racing background.
Yeah, is Kieran Fallon from your neck of the woods?
No,
he's a Clare man, but you're from obviously your granddad trains and you're from a racing background.
Yeah, so I suppose granddad started training probably about 20 years ago now. Just had an interest. He owned horses first and said, sure, of course he could train them. So he decided to do that himself.
Well, what age was he roughly when he took it up?
I'd say he was kind of mid-50s.
This is like, so we had Paddy Corkery last week who seemed to take it up very late in life. It's kind of a theme of the show now the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, no, I'd say he owned horses before that, and I said then obviously he decided that he could give training them a go. Now look, he's only training them for himself anyway, but he enjoys it and he's happy enough doing it now. He's had plenty of success, to be fair to him. So.
And obviously were you kind of was it always obvious that you go down this route of being a jockey? It's not an easy game to get into.
No, I suppose I always grew up around horses, around ponies. Show jumped up to when I was 16. Always went hunting, done all that crack. But I suppose the family always thought it was kind of going to be a phase, and sure he'll stay in school and he'll go into business and that'd be great. I'd say, if you asked him 5 years ago, would I be here with you now, they'd probably say no chance. So I'd say from what I started off.
And the fact that you ended up doing both.
Ponies, they thought I'd leave the horse. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's always good.
So yeah.
And how have you found it so far? Like it might stand to jockeys as well that it takes time to get the first winner, and like when you start in 2019 or so.
Yeah, like look, I love every day doing it. I'm well aware that you don't just ride a winner, you don't just ride a big winner and then it all takes off. A lot of it's down to riding out for different lads and talking to them a lot and creating a bit of a connection with somebody and just keep building contacts and keep trying to keep contacts. So say you think some people might think when you're going to be a jockey that it's all going to fly, and once you start riding one winner you'll ride 10 more straight away, and that's how it goes. But it definitely doesn't go like that. I find anyway. I could be doing it wrong either, but I think it's important just to keep building contacts and keep just working to get where you want to be.
That's kind of look, I think you're obviously not doing it wrong, you know, as the weekend would testify to it. But in terms of actually honing the skill and the craft of being a jockey, like what you're talking about there is kind of the business side and making sure you put yourself into people's minds and availability for selection. We know that's hugely important, but actually being a good horseman, that's probably the most important thing in terms of getting a good tune out of a horse. That's what trainers and owners will notice over a sustained period of time. How do you do that?
Yeah, I suppose, look, it is very natural. I be the opinion of that, if a horse is settled, whether that's him in the front of the field or in the back of the field, you don't want to be making a horse go faster than he can from the get-go.
Oh, just as we were about to get the secrets.
There you go, yeah. Like finding out where Springfield is in The Simpsons. There's always some interruption. What are the secrets, do you think, Ger? Just winning on Dublin Racing Festival the second day. It's interesting as well, the first three horses home in all the grade ones, which would be 24, 3/4 of them were trained by either Willie or Gordon. So, and I guess the point is that for jockeys like Mark, it's hard, like, because the winners are, dictated by a small enough select number of trainers and jockeys. So you got to be patient in this game.
Friday Night Racing Off the Ball is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. You can follow the Twitter account at HRI Racing. Our guest this week is Jockey Mark McDonagh. We've re-established the line there. Mark, you were just telling us the secret about getting good at being a jockey.
I don't think there's a massive secret. She's just about working hard and probably, trying to get horses into a rhythm. Probably the biggest thing, once your horse is in a rhythm in a race, and you don't have to ask them any questions for as long as you can. I suppose just learning that and trying to get that right. Probably get it wrong a lot more times than you get it right, but that's just the learning curve.
Exactly, that is the learning curve, isn't it? You were saying obviously you're on an athlete scholarship at UL, so you're based close to UL, and that's where you're based at the moment. When you graduate from college, would it be your intention to maybe move so you can actually do riding out and work rider stuff for other trainers, just to get on that circuit and introduce yourself a bit more to them?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I suppose I'm on work experience at the moment now, so I'm currently in Joseph O'Brien's on work experience. So I say it's best of both worlds here. Last year when I was in college, I was still able to ride out for Michael Hourigan, Angus King and Grandad. So say I've always been riding out, every day anyway. But I suppose after college I'll, review it all and go ride out and just I don't have a plan really for after college where exactly I'll be, but say I'd figure that out when it gets closer to time.
What's it like in Joseph's? That must be a hell of an experienced amount of people and horses there every morning.
Yeah, it's great. I suppose look, you're in here with a lot of good riders, and then to be in the office, then learning the business side of things is great. I suppose a lot of people from the outside looking in might kind of say, well, sure, there's little business or accountancy to be done inside here, but tis definitely busy anyway. A lot more people would be surprised, I'd say.
Is that something that you've thought about, like actually being a trainer as opposed to a jockey in your late 20s, early 30s? Is the lifestyle, considering both sides of it now, obviously very early on, and I'm not retiring you from being a jockey at all here, but is that something you'd be interested in?
Yeah, I suppose you'd think about it all right. Probably would be interested in it. I'd hope that I wouldn't have to go training in my late 20s. I'd prefer if it was closer to my late 30s. But sure, we'll see how we get on. But yeah, I suppose I'd always have an interest in training between seeing granddads there and growing up from granddads to, Michael Howarigans and the Bulgers, to see how everyone else does it, you'd love to take a little piece from everything and try and make a go at it yourself some stage, all right.
Yeah, I suppose it's an interesting point that I haven't really thought about before. None of the trainers can really do that much revolutionary from the other trainers, because the work riders all move between and the jockeys all move between and the owners all move between, and it's like, in the end, are my horses fitter and healthier on the day? Have I got them there in time? Have I picked the right race? And away we go.
Yeah, it was interesting to just Ted Walsh talking about Willie Mullins on the Nick Luck show on Sunday. He was just saying that he sees things that nobody else sees, and maybe there are trainers who just they see things that wouldn't be obvious to the naked eye, but I guess Joseph must have something special about him as well to have done what he's done at his age, Mark.
Yeah, I'd say straight he must have. If there's secrets there, I haven't found them out yet. But no, to be fair, he's a very good boss, and the horses look very well and they perform very well for him. So, as I say, there's a reason why he's the place the way he does, and it's a great place to learn.
Where do you go from here now with the £7 claim?
Sure, look, hopefully just like that, just keep if you keep riding winners, keep building contacts, and I suppose just trying to become a better rider. Say once the 7 goes and you're down to 5, you need to be at least £2 better of a rider to keep continuing on. So I suppose it'll just all be about getting stronger, getting smarter, and just becoming a better rider.
The JP had his 4,000th winner, I think, recently as well. And is there an added significance? Just it's a big day, and you're riding a winner in those colours as well. Probably makes it a bit more noteworthy, almost.
Yeah, of course. Like that, you dream of riding in them colours in any race. For it to be a big race, Dublin Racing Festival. It is beyond a dream.
Those £2 you're talking about, the difference between £7 and £5. What will you do? Is it is it an obsession about fitness? Is it an obsession about watching back videos? And is it an obsession about acquiring information from people? How are you going to do that?
Yeah, all the above, really. You hope that it's just a progression. You just want to, I suppose the way I look at it is I know I'm progressing once I look and I see that right when I'm riding for these new people today, or that, that horse ran well, and just say, to keep getting horses to run well. I suppose there's no hidden secret that when I go down to 5, I'm going to do this differently.
And even the stuff like nutrition and fitness, is that they are the controllables? They're the things you can do the most about. Is that something you're mad into at this stage? Is that something you'll kind of lean into over the next while?
Yeah, I suppose you try to stay fit, try to stay strong without bulking up or anything. Suppose I do love my food, so it's trying to get the right balance in that too. But it's just about trying to keep on top of all them things and progress to be a bit better.
There's a fairly already iconic image of Tyke Furlong running against, I think it was the Welsh scrum half on Saturday, and I guess folks like that get you thinking about how rugby has completely changed in my lifetime in terms of the gym and so forth. Like, as a jockey now, is that something that is a young jockey? Is that something that's considered like normal or mandatory, or are you sort of advised that you got to work as well off the track?
Oh, line's frozen again. Good question though, Johnny.
All the secrets, he's just afraid to tell them. Did you see that Tyke Furlong image?
The still no.
It's like, God, what did that poor scrum half think? He was literally he also had this like face of kind of angst on him as he often has, and it just looked like a complete David versus Goliath, you know.
Mark McDonagh's back there. You can ask your question again if you want.
Yeah, Mark, I suppose to make it the motorway version of the question I asked, the gym, are you into the gym? Does it help? I guess you advise as a young jockey that this is part of what you do.
Yeah, 100%. I suppose a lot of lads want to keep fit now. It goes hand in hand with keeping your weight in check, you know, between just, you know, cardio exercise or strength exercise. I suppose it's becoming more of a common thing. You know, I couldn't tell you now with claimers who goes to the gym and who doesn't go to the gym. I know well a lot of them do. You know, I suppose just everything about the whole sport getting a bit more professional.
What's the rest of the season looking like for you now after a big win like that? Because we've talked about this before, that some jockeys can have a life-changing win in a big race and actually it doesn't really change their lives that much. It's just more that they have an incredible memory from a huge race. For you, obviously, this is part of a journey. So what do you hope is there anything significant that happens off the back of a big win last weekend, or is it just about making sure you're ready for the next time that opportunity comes along?
Yeah, I suppose, you know, like that, you know, the dream of riding a big winner and then taking off, it doesn't really happen like that. So I suppose with me, it was great to got the winner, and it's just about, you know, being ready for the normal race meetings this weekend and just trying to ride any horses that I am riding as good as I can, and for them to do as well as they can.
Well, listen, we wish you the very best.
Yeah, Gary's not the worst agent to have, I would have thought as well.
No, Gary's 100% now, to be fair. As I say, it is great to be able to leave it all up to him there come declaration time, and he's on the ball.
Is he still running marathons and all that?
Sorry?
Is he still running marathons and all that?
Yeah, no, I'd say now he's probably fitter than every jockey in the way room combined, to be fair to him. So, no, he's still at that all right.
So, man.
Mark, we wish you the very best of luck with the rest of the season. Thanks a million for joining us.
Lovely, thank you.
That's Mark McDonagh, our guest there, who obviously won the Bulmer's Secret Orchard Leopardstown Handicap Chase on Sunday. That was day 2, obviously, on Birchdale for Enda Bulger and JP McManus. That was one of the big races, obviously, last weekend. We'll talk about the rest of them. We're going to take a quick break. This is Friday Night Racing on Off the Ball, brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. You can follow along on the Twitter account at HRI Racing.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
All right, you're very welcome back to Friday Night Racing. Johnny Ward is with me in studio. We've just been talking with Mark McDonagh about his win last week and also how he ended up as, I don't know, look at all the claimers we talked to seem to be pretty together and ambitious for their own careers and not afraid to talk about being ambitious and like having different facets to their personality. There's no one way to make it, it turns out.
No, a £7 claimer to win like that is it's a big deal, and like as I said, he was out of the handicap, I think £4, which meant that...
Explain that to people.
So his rating was not high enough to run off the minimum weight, which would be 9-10 or 10 stone. In any event, so the lowest rating in a handicap is based on how much lower you are than the highest rating. The best horse in the race will have a certain weight, and then they work down from that. But there's a minimum weight, and if you're any lower than that in terms of a rating, you just have to carry extra weight. You're just not good enough.
That's out of the handicap.
Yeah,
that's what it means. You're out.
It was £4, so like, and in fairness, you know, Birchdale was considered, you know, a candidate for the Ballymore or the Supreme back in the day for Nicky Henderson. I remember him being very well touted, and it's kind of mad that he ended up at Enda Bulger, but he'd run a very good prep for this at Leopardstown at Christmas, and yeah, so like it was like he'd never ridden a winner over fences, so it was a hell of a way to break it because they don't get much more high profile than that in terms of handicaps in Ireland.
So big win.
Absolutely, and like everyone watching on TV, and
I suspect too the fact that you're in Joseph O'Brien's and now you've had a winner for JP, that does have an impact. We have spoken before about having, jockeys who have these kind of once in a lifetime experiences where they win a big race. That's not this case.
No, and it's I think it's just the way he rode the horse was really, really polished. I thought he was very cool. The horses ahead of him went for home coming around to the last, and he kind of went slightly up the middle of the track, never asked the horse until after the last. I think there was a loose horse in to guide him home, but it was really, really polished performance for somebody who hadn't ridden a win over fences, and he talks a good game as well. He's very laid back and relaxed, and I thought it was the right of somebody who's going to go a long way in the game, but it's really competitive, and like they're I guess in every team there are loads of underage, but not many seniors.
Yeah, and I suppose the point you made earlier on about the number of horses that were Elliot Mullins horses, like their top jockeys get first pick, but there's lots of other jockeys who are there available for the other horses too. Yes,
and scrapping for those rides. Like, I mean, that was a handicap, and in fairness, he ended up riding the favourite in the race. But we have lost a lot of like really good jockeys through retirement in recent years, and I think there was a bit of a gap for like the next kind of names to come through, and he's very young, and I think he's a very good future if he can. Keep his kind of there's not even an if about that. Like he's in college, and he's a good lad, obviously, as well.
It's like getting the rides now is the main thing. Right, Friday Night Racing is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Not only did Danny Mullins ride a Grade 1 winner at the Dublin Racing Festival last weekend, he also gained some ground on Johnny Ward in the Tote 10 to follow competition. Johnny's still in top spot, but his lead over Danny is down to 61 points. Honeysuckle, Chacun Pour Soi, Sir Gerhard, and a place for Manila Indo all combined to give Danny's 10 to follow a big bounce. With Cheltenham on the horizon, it is still all to play for. So there's the lead. 371 for Johnny, 310 for Danny, and 264 for me. Not doing so great. But
no longer unassailable anyway.
Tote currently have a new account sign-up offer available online. Visit tote.ie for the details. Let's talk about last weekend and what else we learned. We learned that everybody loves Honeysuckle, and Honeysuckle pretty good.
Yeah, like, I mean, Henry de Bromhead spoke about this. There's still some doubts about the yard form. The very good horses seem to be able to overcome it, but her performance was fine by Honeysuckle standards. It was probably average or slightly below average. She beat Zanna here, made a bad mistake at the first. Echoes and Rain couldn't go by him, and they finished second, 6.5 lengths. So it was Honeysuckle just basically running her race or thereabouts, and great reaction from the crowd. Like the record that she has, in fact she's still unbeaten, and now she goes to Cheltenham facing Appreciated and nothing else really. It's not a strong division at all. That's the one thing I'd say about Honeysuckle. She's an amazing mare, but there's very little depth to the 2 mile hurdling division, just for whatever reason. And I was saying to Henry de Bromhead earlier in the season, you want to protect that unbeaten record. I'd actually like if she retired unbeaten. I think it'd be just an amazing thing. You can never take that away from her, and I think she deserves that now for the toughness she's had in her races. But herself and Rachel Blackmore, it's been brilliant for racing.
Yeah, and the fact that the crowds were back last weekend, I think, just added to the whole thing.
A lot of young people as well, like Henry de Bromhead saying
everybody looks young to you now after the 2 years though, Johnny.
Yeah. Well, I think in fairness, like Rachel was saying, God, I'm taken aback by this. Like the Honeysuckle story, a lot of it has been like with no crowds. And Henry de Bromhead was saying like the amount of people, my son or daughter loves Honeysuckle, and these things matter. These people are not betting, they just love horses.
Yeah, and I think wasn't everybody talking about the fact that there's Rachel noticed that there was a cheer before the race, which doesn't happen very often.
No, and going down to the start, 5-1 on favourite. 5-1 in the only reason she was 5-1 on was because I think there are still doubts about the yard form, because she was basically a 20-1 on shot. She just had to run her race, and she never but does that. And now she goes to Cheltenham. I think she's like 1-2, which isn't great for the race, but she's the outstanding hurdler of her generation. Yeah,
sometimes not great for the race doesn't really matter for posterity and history and the wider stories and the macro stories. Fairly sensational.
You think of the Max Joy, Hardy Eustace, Archibald days, and maybe it's a bit of a sepia tinge here, but there just aren't particularly strong hurdlers at the moment.
Yeah, and so the classic races made them all classic, and the finales is the stuff that people still talk about, the Archibald finishes. But like that's one, we love sport for that, but we also love sport for the true greatness. That's the other aspect of this, is that everybody can relax and look back and go, we have been around in the moments of absolute sublime talent.
Yeah, and you'd wonder if she 2.5 miles, 2 miles is kind of all the one for her. In the near future, now we could have some very. I'll tell you what, actually, the Supreme Novice Hurdle this year looks like it's going to be really good.
So isn't that?
So you'd have Constitution Hill, John Bon. Dysart Diamond is going to go there. I'm not sure about Sir Gerhard. I think he might step up and trip. But even those three alone, if one of them happens to win the Supreme impressively, you could be thinking next season, well, when you graduate as a senior, maybe you'll give Honeysuckle a race. And Appreciated might give her a race, but
next year
in Cheltenham this year, because
right.
So Sharjah's not running in the Champion Hurdle now, but it's a small field, but. Her consistency and what she's done for racing, I think, at a time when racing could have done with a hand, Honeysuckle has definitely played her part, and it's been a great story. I think it's rare that you get the sort of adulation that was afforded her last Sunday.
And everything worked out well in the end. Anything else from last Saturday and Sunday in particular that you're going to take note of? You tipped a 40-1 winner, which I'm surprised that it's taken 41 minutes for you to mention.
I think he went off short on that Conflated. But I think that was a sign again of the race not being particularly good. Galopin Deschamps won at 4-9. He was very good. Be interesting. JD was talking about him going to the Gold Cup last Sunday, which is a brave call. If he were to go, I think he could run very well. I don't think it's going to happen. Sir Gerhard was brilliant in the novice hurdle. Didn't jump great at times, but I just think they'll probably try to split him and his stablemate come Cheltenham. Let's come back to Saturday then. Obviously with Conflated, Blue Lord was good. Vauban was really impressive, I thought. He won the juvenile hurdle. That was a really, really good form, despite doing plenty wrong in the race. He's a massive engine, and the Triumph looks like a really good race. Facile Vega, I've got to mention, the son of Covega. Unbelievable performance. The bumper looks possibly better than the mother at this stage, potentially.
Right.
And that was, yes, so a lot of, we can talk about a lot of odds-on favourites, which isn't ideal, but some imperious performances, and 11 winners from the DRF won at Cheltenham last year. So this year, you'd imagine it's going to be a big trial as well.
However, the English horses have suddenly got better, right? All of a sudden, there are no English horses. They are much better this year than they were last year.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Even the Supreme, I think the Supreme will set the tone for Cheltenham, because the John Bon and Constitution Hill have been talked up a lot. I'm not really sure how good either of them is. It's just hard to know because there's so little depth. We've again the problem of the Racing Post has highlighted this. You look at the ITV cards tomorrow that they're showing on TV for the big races, and the first 4 races I think on ITV, the field sizes are what do we got here? 6 runners, 8 runners, 5 runners, 4 runners. It's a big problem in British racing. There's a lack of competitiveness both on the all-weather and in jumps racing, and it's just hard to know how good these novices are. But if Ireland wins the Supreme, I think that'll set the tone for the festival. It was 23-5 last year. It's hardly going to be that, but I don't know. We just seem a lot stronger at the moment.
Has the quality not improved? Are more of the top trainers not producing slightly better horses this year than they were last year?
Constitution Hill and John Bon are both trained by Nicky Henderson and both look very good, but apart from that, they don't seem to have anything in the juvenile division. The bumper will definitely not be won in Britain. Novice Chase we look like we're dominating that. Okay, well, can I say we should celebrate that then, because it's going to come back. I know you have this doubt that it's going to come back. I think British racing's in an existential crisis mode, or not far off. I really do. We did have these conversations about Gaelic football when Dublin were winning everything, and it turns out that maybe we were wrong. Yeah, I was actually looking at the game in Tralee, and I was like, I like the view of having a bet that flies against all opinions. So I was like, might have a sneaky few quid on Dublin to win the All-Ireland. They were 2-1, so it wasn't as if there's that much of an overreaction. But they went into a game in the National League. They were 5-2 against to win in Kerry, and I was like, when were Dublin 5-2 to win a game in the last 10 years? So yeah, that's true. But I think whatever about Gaelic football, €5 bet at 5-2 would give you €0 back. Indeed, although a few things went against them in the game, and I think they're just taking it easy at the moment. No. But anyway, the point is that the English horses are the same. They're coming back. We should enjoy this for they're not coming back though. There's no evidence they're coming back. I'm not saying they'll have less. Henderson has better horses this year already than in the last couple of years. He does, but so the rest of them are also going to Paul Nicholls is going to get good horses again. Yeah, although he's having a bit of a slump in form at the moment. I'm just looking at the odds for the Supreme, because I did want to tip up a horse. He was 16s as of last Sunday. I don't know if that's gone now. He is now So he's now 12s. But Kilcroot, I think, is well worth an each way bet for that race. He's actually been backed since. But I think he'll end up going there, and I don't think Sir Gerhard win.
All right. Friday Night Racing Off the Ball brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. That's it for this week's Friday Night Racing. Johnny, thank you very much.
Thank you too.
And we'll see you next week.
Friday Night Racing.
On Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.